this is a reading for Cancer, just an additional one for the month of August 2025. So for those of you that are out there, I'm sure there's a lot of sounds you can hear in the background, an oncoming train. I'm just in a really unique little spot that I love. So anyway, it's a very hot day out here. Maybe I'll scan so you guys get a bit of sunshine here at the end. But how it starts out here, if you're new to my channel, is I read my cards as the major arcana first, or at least the main cards that then we'll go through the clarifiers, give you more of a summary at the end, just in case there's some things that might have been forgotten, and we'll go from there. So if you have any questions, certainly ask them at the end of the read. And what we're looking at right now for you, current energy for the month of August, and again, we are currently at about the 13th or 14th, I think, of August. Or no, sorry, later than that. We're about the 16th of August. Anyway, so from about the middle of August to the end is what this read pertains to. Okay, so I'm just going to show you the cards that we have out. So we are starting out with the Four of Wands. We also have the Knight of Cups, and we also have the Six of Swords. Now, I have also pulled cards from the Kyle Gray Angel Guide Oracle deck, which I'll pull through here in a minute. But overall, this is looking like a pretty half and half read is what I would say here. You're definitely going through some challenges for whoever this resonates for. But what we are looking at is, starting with the Four of Wands, this is definitely something that relates around home front. It's certainly around our stability and our security. So I feel like this is what's on your mind right now. Four of Wands is still a card indicating that you're looking to either nostalgically looking at stability or looking for stability in some way, but it is either way at the forefront. And again, fours are all about that cycle of foundation and discipline and stability. So these are things that are, stable and solid that you're really trying to focus on. Now, we also have, as I said, Four of Wands is an indicator that you're in a space where you're trying to feel more grounded. And you may very well be feeling grounded, but I feel like this is you trying to feel more grounded. And I say that just because you're in a place of still in a lot of thought process, basically, is what I would say there. So what I'm seeing here again with it's home front or something around either purchasing of land or something like that. But either way, the stability is a real high factor for you at this point. So I also feel that you're moving into a new, more prosperous period. So despite the feelings that you have currently, I feel like this may be also dealing with there could be sale of properties or something like that, or something around, like I said, property or real estate or something like that. That's also just either way with the Four of Wands, but a lot of focus on stability. So we're going to get to the clarifiers here in just a second, but I want to go into the main cards first. And then the Knight of Cups, and again, the major arcana really aren't out here. So a lot of this is smaller energy. So it's a lot of movement that you're basically moving through. So Knight of Cups tells me that there's a lot of emotional energy that you're sort of dealing with at this time. So there is some kind of rapid developments coming through for you on an emotional basis. And I do feel like this is also you in that space of kind of feeling the burden or the weight of those emotions. So there's also something here about, also needing to approach your responsibilities and things around stability from an intuitive sense as well. But either way, I do feel like this is very connected to you moving through some emotional challenges as well at this time. So then we're into the Six of Swords. So this is you also moving away from things that have been challenging. This is trying to find some balance through the face of change, and you're closer to your goals than you think, basically, when this card comes out. But again, the Six of Swords is dealing with a separation. Could be a separation from home or things that you consider home as well, or something that's at a distance there. But there is also that sense of, journeying away from your problems and difficulties, especially when I see it followed by heartbreak with the Three of Swords. So it does feel like you're going through a transition. There is going to be a situation that improves here. And again, I feel like you're being pushed in a new direction. And I say that because further out with the clarifier, there was also the Fool card that's in there. But either way, I do feel like you are prepared to distance yourself from, things that are things that you've been saddled with, and now you're kind of coming into a new space where you're going to be thinking about things differently. You are being asked to change your perspective, especially when I saw the Hanged Man come out there as well. But either way, there's a lot of good energy here. So again, just to kind of recap here on the surface, I feel like there is some kind of longing for stability or something of that sort, something that feels safe, grounded. Feels like you are in a space of being a little bit fragile right now. Like I said, the Ten of Swords came out there with the Hanged Man, feeling stuck. And hi, Mojib. I'm sorry if I mispronounced this. Mojtaba? Hello, thanks for following. So yeah, right now, like I said, I feel like you're a bit fragile, but you are in a space of you're craving a sense of feeling safe or feeling grounded again in some way. You are in a bit of a suspended mode here with the Hanged Man, feeling stuck. Things are, some things that you're going to have to surrender to, meaning if your mind is set on how something has to look or how things are going to move forward, you may have to surrender to that little forced pause for a minute. Take a look at what's around you and look at things differently. So if it's uncomfortable, it's okay to be trapped in that waiting because you are trying to find active ways of resolving the issue. So it's not like things are at a loss, especially when I see the Fool card coming up here. I feel like you're running more on feelings, and that Knight that came up is also an indication of some kind of instability emotionally. But I feel like you want to express love or vulnerability, and I feel like you're easily overwhelmed. And again, for whoever this speaks to, but the Fool still tells me there's something more coming in that's going to work to your advantage. It is a new beginning of sorts, and it's a way of you looking at people or things in your environment differently, that will help to make your life a little easier going forward. Hi, Jakan. Do we care? I don't know. Do we care? You care if you want to care. I mean, so anyway, but Knight of Cups with the Ten of Wands, that still tells me there's a lot of an emotional burden, feeling bogged down. Things are a little bit at a point of fatigue. So I feel like you're just kind of at your wit's end. But again, there's still a lot of movement, especially with the Knight and especially with the Six of Swords. There's a lot of movement telling me that you are in need of a transition and you are making the transition. So there's something here about seeking calmer waters, peace. It's not easy because there is all this heartbreak, the sorrow. This is kind of what you're moving through. But the cards that came out first, of course, are the ones that you are actually starting to transition away from the pain and from the things that you were masking. You're facing the difficulties. So when you face the difficulties, then you look for ways to accept the pain and that it was just a stage in life, and that given the certain set of circumstances, maybe things had to play out as they did, but you are now in a space where you're starting to process all of that. So again, that you're still in the space of waiting and assessing, but we also had, we've got some other cards that came out here too, which I will pull over. So some of these that was just sort of the general energy. And then when we get into the final cards out here, these ones are more specific to, I asked about relationships, and I've asked about where things are. Oh, you like the Fox card. Thanks, Phallus. Yeah, I actually it's funny, I wasn't really drawn to them, and then I thought, wait a second, this looks like coffee cards to me. I love coffee, so I'm a bit of an addict that way. But anyway, I still feel like you are conflicted in some way. On the surface, you want to belong, you want love, you want stability, you feel stuck, you feel burdened, you're emotionally hurt, but you are going through a period of transition to move toward peace, and you're still kind of haunted by that pain in some way. But again, we have a lot of cards out here that kind of speaks to, these ones are actually about your money cards, which look totally amazing, by the way. But emotionally, I feel like you're still in a really hurtful space. When we're looking at just to kind of talk about the Four of Wands and that Knight of Cups, like I said, I think those are very positive cards, sort of showing me that you haven't, even though you're tired of the weight that you're carrying, you still long to move forward. You just haven't found a way to release it yet. So there's something here about, in the near future, I do feel like there is a progression about how things will go. So I feel like despite the fact that you're craving a sense of home or stability and being accepted as you are, this is a protective need, and it's encouraging you to do small little things that create levels of safety. Having regular meals at a stable time, creating more of a stable space, creating a bit of a routine. These are the things that help you to feel more at home. Having you know, even predictable conversations, bringing people in that, sorry guys, bringing people in that, you know, that help you to feel more comfortable or that can anchor you. These are also things that help to sort of, you know, help you to feel a little more grounded in your space. You know, going to familiar places, anything in nature, you know, creating a routine, like I said. So either way, you know, even joining clubs, running clubs are free a lot of times, you know, soccer clubs, whatever. You know, just doing something at a regular time and schedule creates that sense of home and freedom. I do feel like, again, when we kind of reflect back to the, just with the Hanged Man, there is that feeling of suspension. There is that feeling of hopelessness, you know, and you're kind of trying to push forward some to reframe things, you know, and even though this is a healing pause, it's almost like you would call it distress tolerance. So it's something here where you're being encouraged to notice what small perspectives or shifts in your mindset can you surrender to so you can fight the pause and start to take a little bit of action. And yeah, for sure, Ashita, you can ask a question at the end there. I do feel, like I said, with that Knight of Cups energy coming in there, you do feel an awful lot. There's a lot of emotion here. This is things that almost kind of flood you in some way. There is something here about, you know, validating yourself. You know, it's important that things matter to you, and that's great, but you need to find ways to help move through it. So you want to be moving that emotional energy instead of exploding or bottling it up. So putting it into something creative or productive that helps you to build. So again, sometimes getting your head out of it and allowing yourself to not think about it by doing something creative is helping you to release it in some way. Like I said, you're still in a space of feeling burdened and exhausted, but I do feel this could also be a little bit of guilt or responsibility, unspoken stress. It's those kinds of things. But when you can name the stress, you know, instead of looking at all the burdens as your own, perhaps there's some of the burdens that other people, you know, can take on or have more, how do I say, have more responsibility for. And maybe all the responsibility isn't for you to figure out. So there's something there about that. So don't take on more responsibility or more burden than you need to. You need to learn to sort of set down the unnecessary weight. And again, doing that by exercise or running or, you know, doing something, dancing, something that is therapeutic for you or gives you some kind of release, even symbolically, or journaling, writing, whatever. But like I said, you're still moving in the right direction, but you are taking a longer pause than, you know, than most periods of your cycle, I guess, through this, maybe, because it seems like I've read a lot of these cards in that space. So the Six of Swords, like I said, is you trying to move toward the calmer space, you know, mentally trying to leave behind the pain. So you are making some strides here. And it's like there's a gentle coping mechanism, either by, you know, walking or doing things, like I said, instead of shutting down, you might be talking about it, or you might be doing small, steady steps, taking small, steady steps forward, you know, looking toward the future, taking smaller steps forward every day does kind of keep things moving beyond this space of heartbreak and conflict and, you know, like I said, grieving over what you thought was or could be and that kind of thing. So just allow the grief to kind of identify what it is that's really hurting you. Is it something that you can control, or is it, you know, dependent on another person? If you can't control it, then you have to stop it from festering, you know. So cry it out or open another door in some way, you know, that helps you to feel stronger in some way. Don't cut yourself down, because again, other people that might have been involved in this heartbreak may be cutting themselves down, and really that's not what life is about. It is about trying to find some healing or patience with yourself, even though this may feel like it's slow progress, for sure. But celebrate the small victories, you know. If there's a calm day that shows up, great. If you make it to a park and that feels safe and makes you feel happy for a moment or an hour, great. These are small wins. So again, you want to be able to write down things that are weighing down on you. Can you control it? If you can't, then you have to release it in some way and accept it, that the other person isn't ready to make a commitment, or that the conflict wasn't yours to bear, the burdens weren't yours to bear, that kind of thing. No worries, Ashita. I see your comment there. We'll get it at the end for sure. But either way, I do feel like, you know, with the card of Six of Swords, actually, even with the Knight of Cups, that's cards of, expression through music, poetry, art, anything that helps you to, emotionally give form to your feelings instead of bottling them up, because right now it kind of looks like you're bottling them up still. So I would say that the Four of Wands is, there's something here that is creating a bit of a safe space for you with the Four of Wands. So whatever it is that you're thinking about, there is a safe space where you can build little anchors of joy and something that's predictable. Again, it's maybe a weekly meal or a walk that you do on a regular basis, or a movie night. Nothing too heavy. You don't discuss the heavy things. You're kind of making this a gentle transition, a supportive one, where you're just taking small steps toward a better day each week. So, instead of demanding big changes from yourself, it's slow movement, and it's still movement, and that's important. So again, I just feel like it makes sense for you to just to hear yourself, heal, instead of allowing yourself to focus or ruminate on the heartbreak. And like I said, there's some really good joy cards coming in here too for you as well. Now, this one here, I've got the this is your money aspect here. So I feel like this is maybe some kind of cooperation or something through someone else. Hi, Saman. Sorry if I mispronounced that. But the Two of Cups is also that card that tells me that you're in that space of either a combination of people coming together to sort of make something happen in terms of your finances. This is a partnership. This is a choice. This is also a decision. But the Two of Cups is definitely a really positive card that's coming out in terms of how you're dealing with your finances. So again, it feels like that is quite smooth. It feels like money is coming through from some kind of a partnership. And it feels like, whether this is a group investment or something like that, it's like good fortune. It's allowing you to clear up some kind of old debts or resolve long-term financial problems, things of that sort. Either way, really good card, and it's cooperation for sure. And we've got the Nine of Cups. This is wish fulfillment coming in for you. So there's satisfaction. There's something that makes you feel like there is rewarding or rewards in this month financially. It does feel like you're getting the result that you want. And again, money that you could have been waiting on, which is allowing you to feel a sense of stability. And again, that's maybe why there is such a focus on the Four of Wands for stability. Now, it may not be vast wealth, but it's enough to feel proud of for sure. Now, we also have the Justice card. So this points to fairness. Could be a legal or something that was contractual that was involved here. But the debts are balancing. Your money is coming through in a very, like anything that was owed to you is coming through. And it's just a very positive card. And especially when it's followed by the Two of Coins. You could still be juggling your finances a bit, but either way, it's like you're balancing out the finances. Hi, Milia. Oh, I'm really good. Sorry, and I'll answer your question too at the very end there, just so I don't confuse the read. But as I said, like with the Two of Coins, it's like, if you were living paycheck to paycheck, it just feels like there's something that comes through that allows you to stabilize and allows you to adapt, and it's allowing a lot more flexibility. And it helps you to make a decision here as well with the Chariot. Sorry, guys, train. So this is also energy about having a lot of determination. So there's something here that kind of speaks to you being able to move ahead financially. You are focusing now more so on turning scattered money into momentum and using it in a way that is more positive. So again, in summary, just in terms of the finances, I feel like there is a lot that's coming through there for you that speaks to receiving some form of satisfaction or gain in terms of finances. It is a wish fulfillment. It's something that could be like, again, repayment, settlement, something karmic, something is due. Even if you were juggling between two sources or two bills or two things, it feels like you're managing that, and it's going to help push you forward. So things aren't static. You are now getting onto more of a controlled path. Now, there is something here, again, with the Nine of Cups and again with the Justice, that does feel like relief to me. And like I said, it also feels like it's practical tools with the Two of Pentacles. So it allows you to budget, prioritize your needs versus your wants, and again, track your expenses. That helps you to feel more empowered because you have more to work with. So I don't feel like you're drifting. I feel like you have a strong intention with the Chariot, and that's kind of a breakthrough in terms of your finances. So this might be even over the next 1 to 3 months, this kind of plays out. Now, as far as what's happening with your love life, this is a little bit more daunting. So there is something here, and that could be where the heartbreak takes place. But there is something here with the Five of Wands that kind of speaks to conflict, competition, jealousy, things of that sort, miscommunication. Could have been in a situation where there were external fights with a partner or somebody, internal conflicts about how to connect. There's a sense of immaturity in handling emotions here with the Five of Wands, Ten of Swords, Three of Coins. But I still feel like, and especially when the Ten of Swords also came through there, something ended painfully, or it feels like a betrayal or a rejection of some sort. So either way, I feel like there's a wound from either a breakup or from a repeated disappointment in love. And it can also symbolize fear of being hurt again and shutting down emotionally. So the Three of Pentacles, though, is kind of after that 10. The 10, by the way, is the end of that cycle. So it's like you're ready for something new and it's about to change. Now, you can also repeat a cycle, don't get me wrong, but once you've learned the lesson, you want to know that there's those, that knowledge is there for a reason. So you don't want to repeat that twice. So try to look ahead versus looking back to repeat the same cycle. So Three of Pentacles, despite the pain, there's potential for rebuilding on cooperation and learning. So long as it could mean that this is not a fully done connection, you may crave this partnership and teamwork, but it's almost like you're doing it with boundaries now, because the Seven of Coins is you planted the seeds, you've invested some kind of something in the partnership, you're craving the partnership, but it feels like you have to learn how to collaborate rather than collapse under the conflict. So that it doesn't mean taking on all the problems of the day. It means taking on one problem, solving one thing at a time versus all of the things that are wrong. So, and then having to accept the things that you can't control and that the other person has to work through. So either way, I feel like you're caught in conflict. Again, there's a certain level of immaturity, competitiveness there, jealousy. I do feel like you're holding potential for some kind of new collaboration or a healthy teamwork if you're willing to grow. It is fueled by passions. There's a certain level of impulsivity there as well. Now, from now to the next 2 months, I feel like you're still kind of entangled in the conflict or the heartbreak, sort of dealing with that pattern of rejection, and you may be dwelling on that rejection. But over 2 to 4 months, I feel like you begin to feel healthier about your relationships and possibly friendships, and even take it on as a friendship. But either way, there's more teamwork. There's more that influences you with that connection about how you relate anyway. But 4 to 6 months out, I feel like that's where there's more maturity. That Page of Wands can become that exploration of a new beginning. In some of that was sort of the major card at the bottom, of course, bottom of the deck. So it feels like you've done some of the healing work by that 4 to 6 months range. Now, I would say, again, just in terms of what you can sort of control there, it's identify the core beliefs. Sometimes we say when we're looking at the Ten of Swords, oh, I'm always going to be hurt, especially with that Three of Swords that came out there as well, as betrayal and the hurt. And you say to yourself, I'll always be hurt, but that's not true. You can also be saying, I'm not good enough in love, or whatever, or I've been hurt before, but it doesn't mean you always will be. So you have to address your conflict style, and that's what that Five of Wands is. That's your conflict style. So this is where you want to say, take the pause, before reacting, separate your thought from your emotions. Whatever you're going through is not all on you. You don't have to fix the picture. Somebody else is also at play in this scenario. So you can't be the burden and take on everything and say what happened and it's all me, because it's more about meeting of the minds. When someone really cares for you, they find a way to work with you. So again, there has to be an element of growth between the two before something, moves beyond a stagnancy. Like both of you have to be on board to grow. If one person wants to grow and the other person doesn't, then you can't meet in the middle. You have to wait until, somebody is ready to move on. Either you move on and, find a new love or whatever, or this other person comes back when they're more mature. So it's something along that line, because there were cards of immaturity here. So you can also say to yourself, instead of What happened? You can just say things like, what happened? What did I think? What is really within my responsibility? What is it that I can control? If I can't control everything, then how can I change the way I'm seeing this? So it's also, what are the things that you tell yourself? Are you because again, this is about your conflict resolution style. So it tells me that your arguments in the way that you speak to yourself seem to be very self-defeating. So again, emotional awareness is tracking your feelings instead of lashing out impulsively, and that's what the Page of Wands can be. There is something here of remembering the small wins in the relationship. You encourage yourself to build on trust in smaller, low stake relationships or friendships, where you have more teamwork before entering into some kind of romantic situation. So, just in terms of sort of a general, I don't know if that made any sense, but in generality, to kind of pull this together, I feel like you're moving from craving intensity to learning harmony. So it's like your peace, you're prioritizing your peace, or you will be. I feel like the Page of Wands kind of reminds us that the beginnings are not failures, they're lessons, they're fires of passion, and they're tempered by our wisdom, of cooperating. So the Three of Pentacles again teaches you that love is not a conquest, it's a crafting of two people together. Why wrestle with the lover's situation, you know, and taking on the fear of betrayal and inadequacy when really it's a two-part situation. It's not a battlefield. So don't battle yourself because you can't control all the elements. Okay, getting on to this. Sorry, I do digress. Okay, so now we're kind of into the space of the Two of Swords. There is something here. This is like your blockage. So the Two of Swords, Nine of Swords, Page of Swords. I would say that your blockage is that you're feeling like you have to avoid something. There's indecision here. There's an emotional shutdown. You feel stuck, torn between things, unwilling to see things clearly. Something about you're blocking yourself by not wanting to. You're blocking your fear of the pain is what I would say here. And this, again, of course, is anxiety, sleeplessness, a lot of anxiety for sure, self-torment, caught in mental spirals, overthinking, catastrophizing, all or nothing thinking. They either love me or they don't. I'm either good or I'm bad. It's sorry about that, guys. My phone overheated, believe it or not. So I had to put the air conditioning on. Anyway, sorry about that. So I'll kind of continue on where I was. We were talking about the Nine of Swords, and sorry about that. Anyway, I didn't think my phone was going to overheat. It is a hot day out here. Okay, so anyway, where I am in the neck of the world. So again, a lot of sleeplessness, a lot of anxiety, self-torment, inner prison. This is that card of, your mind running around in loops. Okay, perfect. Thanks, Ishida. So again, even when I'm looking at the Page of Swords, I mean, this is also that card that tells me that, you are watching, you are questioning, you are scanning for threats. You're not acting, but it's like something keeps you in a cycle of fear without this resolution. So things that you can do to kind of get past that would be something along the lines of observe what's going on without judging yourself. You can say, yes, I feel the fear, my body feels tight, that's okay, but you want to see your emotions without letting them freeze you. So it's something here about learning distress tolerance, basically. So it's like, when you or you pace your breathing, things that you can do to calm the spirals, noticing things in the room you can smell, feel, touch, to kind of break your cycle of splashing cold water on your face, ice water, do 10 push-ups, anything from helping you to prevent you from spiraling in some way. So again, being hyper vigilant, very defensive, this is something where there's something that you can say, they call it dear. It's where you describe, express, assert, and then reinforce. So you actually ask and then clarify. So that shifts your suspicion into an actual dialogue, if that makes any sense.
So again, I feel like your catastrophic thinking about everything will always fall apart, or you want to reframe that in some way. Like, what supports that? What's an alternative possibility? You know, has everything in your life always been bad? No, of course not. So you can break your thought patterns into smaller steps, break your choices into smaller steps, and say, instead of I must decide everything right now, what's the next smallest step that I can take? So again, there's a lot of things. If you need to test them, you can certainly test them to see what their intention is. But if they send a message that helps you to gather more real evidence, with these worst case scenarios, then you know that you've got to move on or change, what it is that how you deal with them. So again, I feel like overall there's something here about, with that two of swords energy, it's a blocking, it's a stagnancy of sorts in around your heart space. So it feels like there's a choice to be made. And the lesson is not choosing, or the lesson to not choose is also a choice as well. But also, it's, can give you clarity when you dare to see what is on the other side of your fear, right? So Marcus Aurelius said with the Nine of Swords, we suffer more often in our imagination than in reality, and your mind builds prisons out of shadows. So that's something to be mindful of. Courage comes not from erasing fear, but from seeing it and then walking away from it. It's not your burden to carry. You can't fix everything. You can't be all the relationship aspects. This could also be a young person here as well, and somebody who's seeking truth, but sometimes you can be afraid of what it will reveal. But it's also something here about endless watching, and again, something about the dialogue here. Don't do it in isolation. So, in short, your blockage for this month is really about avoiding the pain, feeling stuck, being hyper vigilant. Allow yourself to feel distress tolerance. And what I mean by that is, develop some interpersonal skills, talk to yourself in a way that is healthier. Challenge your catastrophic thinking, all or nothing thinking. Break it down into choices. Test your reality against what you thought was true. Is it always true? Of course not. It's never always true. There are good things that have happened in our life as well. So, the avoidance and the fear are really illusions, because you're really searching for clarity and peace, and that can only come through, the courage to see and act in some way. So now we're going to get to the good things that are coming in this month. Okay, so outside of the finance, pretty good. But this is a card of King of Wands is action. So this is leadership. This is confidence. This is direction. This is also bringing an opportunity for you to step into more of an authoritative role. So it's you feeling a lot more, um, not passive, but a lot more comfortable with yourself. Like I said, over time, I feel like this is also, because it's followed by the Hierophant, there's something here that speaks to spiritual wisdom coming in. So it's almost like you're allowing for more of that guidance. This could be church, this could be dealing with governmental agencies or a long term commitment here as well. But either way, I feel like this is an energy of you taking control, seeing the big picture, not being passive about it. And again, you're gaining more structure and you're gaining more guidance. This could be a teacher or a mentor, counselor, anybody like that, somebody that's stabilizing you in some way. Either way, there's also tradition that comes into this mix with this card. So I feel like this could be somebody that's helping you in your community, or an authority figure. Again, this could be a therapist as well that's helping you to bring about some level of grounding. We also have the King of Cups. This is your energy. So this is, again, this is maturity. King of Cups could also be dealing with a father figure here as well. But it certainly speaks to, Pisces, Cancer, Scorpio. Again, this is also a card of home and family, things that are important to you. This is also compassion, nurturing aspects of your personality. And again, this is you controlling your emotions. And I do feel like this could also be around a child here as well, but getting in touch with your inner child here as well. But the King of Cups is remembering that your feelings don't drive, you can make your feelings drive your behavior, but in actual fact, there's a lot of other things, you are going to block yourself from if your feelings are the only thing that guide you. It is still an energy of emotional regulation and support. So again, this could be coming through from a spiritual source or somebody in the community, or even yourself learning to manage your feelings more, wisely, because the Sun card tells me you're a lot more optimistic. And this is still about joy, breakthrough, vitality. It's a reveal that's hopeful and happy. And I definitely feel like you're going to move to a lighter period emotionally, especially in your relationships here as well. But overall, I do feel like underneath all that tendency to be blind to your blessings, and I say that because the Four of Cups is the card that was at the bottom of the deck. So you're not fully understanding or noticing what's being offered because you're too caught up in the dissatisfaction and the things that you don't have. So you're resisting all the things that are or that are arriving. But overall, like I said, I still feel like you have a renewed sense of confidence, direction, and I feel like there's guidance or some kind of structure from a wise source that's coming through. I do feel like you've got some kind of emotional support here, like I said, with that card. There is more emotional support, but also more maturity coming through, and happiness, like I said, with a breakthrough of that Sun card. So overall, I feel like, the blessing is that the maturity and the joy arrive not through struggle, but through recognizing what's already there. Attention to. Don't miss the miracle because you're staring at the wound, as they say. So that is what I have for this bunch. Now, the last cards out are this is the Kyle Gray Angel Guide card. So this is vulnerability and freedom, the card of yes, and ask and receive. So really good combination there. So again, it's about dropping the armor. True freedom comes when you allow you in that raw state. So be it. Move along. You know what I mean? Not your problem. So it's things along that line. It's a reminder that you, your healing depends not on how well you hide, but on allowing tenderness. So admit when you're hurt, but then allow that to be kind of a moment that unlocks your peace. I don't know how I can use that as an example, but I'll think about that for a minute. But there's something here, like I said, that speaks to yes, there is a clear path. Your prayers are being answered. There is more forward momentum. It's encouragement to trust, because this is yes to progress, yes to love, yes to healing. So you just need to ask and you will receive. So again, this is the card that tells you, help is available. So too often we like to struggle alone and feel that, we're stuck in our own mire. But this card shows you there's a lot of guidance out there. There are signs, there's support. Things will come to you when you simply ask. But you do have to wait. It doesn't show up like 3 seconds after the doorstep, at the doorstep, but it does allow a channel to flow through you, eventually to you. So, again, the message is dare to be vulnerable. The yes card is you're open. If you can open your heart, then you can ask and receive. Let yourself be seen in some way. So, there is something spiritual that's coming through here, I would say, for you in this month. But I do feel like a lot of the vulnerability is the key that unlocks your authentic connection. So say yes to life, ask for support, and move out of this isolation into more of a communion with self, with others, and with the divine. And I feel like your life is going to be a lot freer. Okay, so let's get to the other cards here and the questions. I'm going to put these away and answer some of the questions that were coming through there. Okay, so sorry, I'm just going to backtrack a little bit here. Okay, so for Ashita, what's coming in for career? You're changing job due to finances, and the company name is Accenture. Okay, what's coming in for Ashita? You want to change your job due to finances. Okay. What is coming in for Ashita in terms of career? What is coming in for Ashita in terms of career? What is coming through for Ashita in terms of career? What is coming in for Ashita in terms of career? What's the Sun? What's the Five of Cups? Ten of Swords. Is there a new job here? Is there a new job here? Is there a new job here? Sorry, guys. My phone overheated again, so I just got it cooled down again for a minute there. Okay, so for Ashita, just answering her question, in terms of what's coming through for career, Ten of Swords, Wheel of Fortune, Five of Cups, Ten of Pentacles, Sun, Page of Swords, Temperance, King of Swords. Is there a new job here? All right, so Ashita, what I see here is definitely looks like there is some kind of ending, because there's either a sense of, feeling defeated at work or burned out. Does feel like something about your current path is draining you, and that is not sustainable. There is the Wheel of Fortune, which is a big change of some sort. Cycle is closing, but the worst is sort of behind you, is what I would say there. It does feel like a lot of disappointment in terms of, because you're at a turning point with that Wheel of Fortune, your fate is shifting. So I feel like the career change is not stagnant. Opportunities and events, something is coming in, but it's about timing here. So I almost feel like you might not, it might have happened right away, but I feel like this is, you're kind of mourning the things that, you're just feeling stuck in your choices or, missed chances, and it feels like something's gone wrong there for sure. But the Ten of Pentacles tells me there's something about long-term stability for you. Now, this could be, maybe finances improving because of financial or family situation, but either way, it's like there is a temporary setback before you actually get the gain, or get the opportunity. So again, this does suggest long-term financial security coming up for you that is more sustainable. Now, the Sun card and the Page of Swords to me is like a communication of some sort, because this is positive. This is definitely speaking to a breakthrough, a lot more visibility. You're proud about some kind of path or something coming through. Again, it's almost like you're curious, but there's almost either you're researching or there's going to be some sense of study or training that's going to be required in order for you to develop a new skill. So I feel like you're going to have more of a student mindset that comes through. So again, there's something there that requires a little bit more from you before before you get to this new opportunity. But again, it'll be more sustainable when you do it. So again, this is where the healing takes place with the Temperance. Have a little patience, because there is something about not rushing in. It's a healing card, especially after the Ten of Swords. So I don't know if there is going to be some kind of job loss, or if you're going to just step away from the job. But the Temperance card next to the King of Swords, and again, this could be legal field or something here as well, or contractual. But either way, working for a lawyer or working for father figure or someone here in a something that deals with very significant decision making anyway, and it is authoritative card. It does show maturity, and it does feel like it is a new boss or could represent a new boss. So overall, I feel like there's a bit of a setback for you, and again, I don't know if that's a job loss, and I don't know that but again, it feels like the opportunity is a bit of it. You're gonna have to wait. You're gonna have some kind of retraining or something here, but there is a new role or a new career, that's going to occur here. And it looks like it's not just a job, it's like it's something that's going to bring you recognition or stability and pride. And I feel like that is going to happen probably over the next 2 months. Is that's going to be the recovery from the ending, or where you're going to also have to adjust your mindset because you're exploring options. 2 to 4 months out is maybe where that new interview or the learning or the mentor or the authority figure or somebody kind of appears. And then by 4 to 6 months, it feels like a new stable role where there's a potential for growth and long-term security will come through. And for love, okay, so what's coming through for love? Sorry, cards are going upside down here, so I gotta switch things around a bit. Okay, so for Ashita, what does the love life look like for Ashita? What does love life look like for Ashita? Love life for Ashita. Love life for Ashita. Okay, life, where is she at? Okay, it definitely looks like there's somebody new coming in here. Love life, the Fool, Page of Wands, Ace of Cups, Queen of Swords, Three of Wands, Hermit. Okay, so what I would still say here, it's almost like there could be potentially two people here. I'm just kind of reviewing it here for a second. But it does feel like it's a little bit further out. And I want to say that because the Fool card is something new that's coming in. It is a fresh start. It's a new beginning. It's some kind of leap of faith. And in terms of love, it feels like you're on the edge of something new, or you're being asked to approach your love with some kind of, curiosity or trust or innocence, something like that. There is more of a, with the Page of Wands, there is more of a spark of curiosity. It's flirtation, it's, exploration. It's a playful energy. It's not deep commitment, but it is more of an adventurous kind of energy. So I feel like this could be a young person coming in for you. The Ace of Cups is a very, very good card, bodes well for, emotions, because it is a new love and it is more of an open heart. It's a positive sign for genuine affection and healing. It's a new connection that's going to bring you a lot of emotional joy. Next to the Queen of Swords, it feels like this is wisdom through pain. So I feel like you want love, but you want it to be real and honest and balance things out. So I'm not sure if that was something that was an issue for you in the past. But it feels like with the Three of Wands, it's again a little bit of a wait, a little further out. It's sort of a future vision, but there's, love that may also involve distance or waiting or looking ahead to see what can be built. It's a card of expectation. So I feel like something hasn't fully arrived yet, but there is something here that's forming, especially when it's next to the Hermit card. So there's a lot of reflection, a lot of inner wisdom activity, like quietness, and it feels like that love. It's tied to self discovery. So as you heal, or as you feel like you are healed, I feel like somehow you're going to be able to step into a partnership more fully. So I feel like something's on the horizon, but it's still forming. And again, this person could be very well at a distance. I would say timeline 3 months, maybe from now to a month. There might be some kind of playful energy. Things feel a little bit lighter, but 1 to 3 months out is more of a feeling of where things start to, there's a new love interest around that period, I would say. And then 3 to 6 months out, it's like then there's a sense of waiting, or someone's at a distance, something like that. So again, they're not fully there yet, and that you need to be patient. So I don't know why. It's like a sense of needing time before fully committing, whether that's you or someone else. So that's what I'd say on that. And again, if this is in regards to Yeshank, maybe I'll ask that card, because I mean, again, I feel like a renewal of love, and it is, Page of Pentacles, so there is still something there that's tangible. Okay, what is it? Is it Yeshank or a new love? Is it Yeshank or a new love? Is this Yeshank or a new love? Yeshank or a new love? Is this Yeshank or a new love? This could be Yeshank actually, but there's been a lot of worry about this situation. New love or old love? Nine of Swords, Strength card in reverse, Ten of Cups, bottom of deck, Four of Pentacles. I want to say that there might have been a tower or a situation with you guys. I don't know what that would be specifically, but it feels like this is somebody that um, just give me 2 seconds here. Because that Nine of Swords is here, like I said, I mean, it tells me that there's been a lot of conflict or a lot of worry with this situation. So I don't know if there has been sleepless nights or whatever, but I feel like the love dynamic here is more along the lines of, feeling what if or potential rejection or something like that. A lot of self doubt in terms of lacking confidence or someone not expressing themselves honestly. I do feel like the Ten of Cups, though, because that's at the top here, there's deep potential or happiness for that connection. It does feel like, despite the current struggles, I feel like the love is possible there. Does feel like because the Four of Pentacles is here, someone's kind of holding on tightly to control or fear of loss, emotionally guarded, something along that line, which is blocking kind of the love, the new love, or the feeling of love coming through. There again, there's that overthinking or fear that someone's clinging to, but the Strength card in reverse, like I said, I still feel like this is a lot of passion, but again, that's where there's difficulty managing your emotions because someone's not feeling confident. So I still feel like there's potential there. It's just, it's again, there's still something you kind of got to wait for. Okay, what else do we have there? Milia. What does the future hold for Milia and Michelle? What does the future hold for Milia and Michelle? Okay, Knight of Pentacles sort of fell out, so that would be more slow moving energy, but it's good practical energy, so it relates. But Milia and Michelle, what does the future hold? Oh, and name is Elena. Never met a person yet. Thanks a lot. Name is Elena. So Elena and Michelle. Elena and Michelle. What's coming in quick with the Eight of Wands? I don't know if there's a lot of jealousy with that situation. But okay, so we'll start with a sec here. Love connection for Elena and Michelle. Hermit, Lovers, Five of Wands, High Priestess, Strength card, Eight of Wands. Bottom of deck, Magician. Below that, Three of Swords and Seven of Swords. Okay, well, that doesn't look great, but I don't know if that's something that's already happened. So what I would say here is there has been conflict. There has been some sense of burden or misunderstanding, internal, external, disagreements, that kind of thing. So it's like you guys can't quite line up things. I do feel like there's a lot of deep intuition, some kind of hidden dynamics here that are also at play. One or both of you may not be really fully able to reveal your feelings right now. And so you're going to have to rely on intuition rather than communication. Now, the Strength card tells me there's emotional resilience in this situation. So there's, maybe some tension despite that tension, but there's compassion, but there's also potential there. So I feel like gentle persistence might heal this connection. Eight of Wands, swift energy movement, something might escalate quickly, events could shift, forcing some kind of an action here. I do feel like the Magician card at the bottom is also an indicator of you having personal power. You have so you both may also have the ability to sort of shape the connection and communicate and move things ahead to the desired situation, but I feel like there's been heartbreak or something there. There has been conflict, disappointment in the past, and I feel like that might influence the situation. May have been lies, secrecy, things along that line, holding back truths, that kind of thing. So again, I still feel like there is a lot of uh, it's almost like the Hermit card was the first one that came out. So to me, that is really about a deeper layer of introspection. So you or both of you may be in a situation where, you're reflecting on understanding things before you go ahead, or, before something can fully evolve. So I feel like, the conflict triggers withdrawal. And then once that introspection of the Hermit appears here, then there's this immediate resolution. And then the High Priestess and the Hermit kind of encourages you again to use your inner guidance before making decisions, because there's secrets, there's things being hidden, and you got to carefully reflect on what that is. The Strength card is about your emotional patience and that kind of thing. Like I said, there's still something here that speaks to reminding you not to rush in, and have intentions. Make your intentions clear, but don't rush. And again, especially when we have that Three of Swords and stuff out there, it kind of feels like there's something there about, honesty and self reflection, being honest because you fear betrayal or something like that, or secrets. So, again, I think you kind of have to wait this out a little bit, because I still feel like there's some positives here, but something about that has to resolve things. I want to say with the Lovers here as well, that is a good card um, in the mix. So it does feel like it's a real connection. Like, it does feel like it's a really strong connection, especially a lot of passion, that kind of thing. I would say that, there is a meaningful bond here despite the disputes, and it's more about, your values are not being aligned. You know, um, things aren't lining up on that basis, I would say. So you want to approach it with a bit of restraint. Um, but I still feel like there is some progress that's being made here. But again, there's some hidden agendas, and I would just watch for that, because I think the central theme here is that the relationship is asking you both to kind of realign, step back, figure out what the miscommunications are, because there's definitely something here that's being hidden, but then there's going to be rapid progress. And so, I feel like it's going in the right direction, but there's some things that are being hidden that need to kind of, okay, maybe one more for Brendan. Um, what does that say? What you do for ASMR? Not sure what that is. I'd have to have more on that. I'm not really sure how to answer that. You're welcome, Ashita. Oh, I gotcha, Elena. Thank you. I appreciate you guys following along. You're very welcome, Elena. So until next time, catch you guys in the next read. Keep moving forward, guys. Never give up.